A wise man once told me, be married or be a monk. And at the time, it just sounded like a nice quote. And, I didn't really give it too much thought. But as I've gotten older, I really have reflected on it. If you check out the episode that I did with Masculine Theory, Joseph from Masculine Theory, we speak more about it and I get his take on it. And he shares a lot of the similar values that I hold on his channel as well. But the idea is what I really get at the core of it is the idea of discipline and responsibility. The younger version of me would say things like, I'm spiritual. I'm spiritual, not religious, or I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, right? That line is rampant in our society. I would just say, I learned it from other people and it made sense, right? Because you don't want to just get so locked in on this one belief system. But with a little wisdom and maturity and life throwing its punches and seeking deeper meaning, I quickly realized that this saying is really that it's really saying is that you don't have a solid foundation of a belief structure, that you don't have deep principle ideas that you'd be willing to fight for and willing to not compromise for. What does that mean? A lot of the issues that are in the political sphere and religion and all these ideas, uh, it forces you into a box. It forces you, are you on this side? Are you on that side? And at the same time, this is where I speak a lot about this in my channel. There's the paradoxes. Because the second you say, I'm this, you're in a box. But at the same time, your ability to articulate these higher truths is what keeps you unboxable at the same time. And what I mean by that is you take the example, um, like something like abortion. People might not like my view on abortion. This is the first video I'm talking about it because it's uncomfortable to share a view that is so polarizing. Generally, you don't have someone who can articulate it in a higher sense. And when you do, you can kind of bring both sides together. And that's my goal. But ultimately, there's going to be people who are stuck on one side or the other, not realizing there's just better ways to articulate it. And at the same time, people are just, no matter what you say, they're not going to appreciate it. And don't cast pearls amongst swine. People don't want the truth. People aren't hungry for the truth. And the ability to know who is and who is willing to have a reasonable conversation will be very valuable to you in life, has for me. But taking the idea of abortion, I think abortion is wrong. See, we want to have a society that is shameless, that we don't have any accountability and discipline for our actions. Now, does that mean I want to impose guilt and shame on everybody? No. I think that we've all fallen. I think we're all kind of hypocrites at some point of our life. We've all fallen short of that glory of our highest version of ourselves. We all made mistakes. We've all done things that are shameful. My issue is when we have shameful or things that are wrong and we say there's nothing wrong with it, just to make ourselves not feel bad about something. And I think that's wrong. Can I speak for everyone's experience? Are there exceptions to this rule? Sure. My issue is when we make exceptions the rule and we say that that's our highest version of ourselves. And going back to the original point of this video, the problem with lukewarm and I'm spiritual, I'm not religious, is this idea is there is a right and a wrong. Now, how you go right? Do you have does that mean gives you the right to judge other people? You have no idea what people have gone through. I wish nobody even has to make a decision with that idea with abortion. And I consider myself someone reasonable. I'm not here to bash somebody because of their belief system. I think ultimately, the higher the belief system, the more that it makes sense and it brings us together. The lower arguments on both sides yelling at each other just ends up dividing us more. And deep down, deep down, what everybody wants is a solid relationship with someone that they love. And one of the problems in our society is that we've taken that idea, misunderstood it, and confused it for lust. And what we're doing is we're having such a deeply private connecting act, and we're kind of just we're objectifying everybody. Paradox in that, right? There's a sexual component of objectification. We should want to be sexy and beautiful and handsome. That should be something that we aim for. But the problem is we're not machines. We're not something to just, oh, I don't like this one, I'm going to dispose this one. And that's not what old generations used to do. They used to admire beauty. They used to admire that and cherish it and fix things that were broken, not just throw them away because, you said something I don't like. And this is this society. It's become very weak. It's part of the reason I made this channel. It's part of my journey of going into my own weaknesses. But to wrap up this video and this idea of be married or be a monk, it's a lot harder to do that. It's a lot harder to say, hey, you know what? Got to put my selfish nature aside. It's not all about me. To go into the world and be the change you want to see is not easy. Oh, what are you, Mr. Positive? Oh, what are you this? No matter what you do, whatever decision, people are going to judge it. In my experience, this idea of be married or be a monk is very powerful. To be married, ultimately, I think the main purpose of a marriage is to have a family. Again, there are exceptions to the rule. This is not a one size fits all. This is not me judging other people. This is me going into my own experience. But that's really the purpose of it. You have a union and you basically make more mini-me's. If you can't do that, the other pathway is to be a monk or to be a nun. And what does that mean? Again, for people who I try to make my videos as if I was speaking to someone who is speaking to a younger version of myself. Doesn't mean you have this holier than thou and all that. It means that you really go deep into your own experience and give up the world completely as much as you can, right? There's people who are, they go deep, deep. They go into the caves. They're renunciates, right? This is part of what priests do. This is part of what monks do. This is part of deeply spiritual people. You don't have to have the label. Anybody can do it if they want to. They practice celibacy. They practice fasting, all these different things. These are deeply spiritual things that anybody can do. In a world of quick fixes and pills and all this, really the most simplest things are easily accessed. But the other thing is, think about the dating world today. It's chaos. It's chaos. I mean, you just swipe right. Okay, I was swipe right, swipe left. And again, it's not a knock on, I think they're just tools. It's how we use those tools. But I think it's also a symptom of our culture that is very, it's lukewarm. It's everybody's replaceable. It's not human on a certain level. And it takes everybody's going this way. And my invitation to you is not that you have to go all the way over here or adopt my principle, that I've heard, be married or be a monk, as if it's the ultimate truth. But consider the idea that the world is chasing pleasure. The world is so hungry for that. And when you really look at the idea of pleasure, again, I speak a lot, my own experiences, my own struggles with lust. To be in the world, but not of it, ultimately is the goal. To be in this, we're human. We have a human experience. We have an animal nature. But when you really when you see your animal nature and how much it chases that immediate gratification, and it just gets more, it's basically quick dopamine fixes, and you become dopey, and you just want more and more. You become a vulture, and you may say all the things that are nice, and you may seem like that kind of person, but this is a heart issue. This is a deep down. This is the kind of video. This is the kind of conversation you have deep by yourself alone. That's the real you. That's the real you. When you look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I really fulfilled? Am I really happy? Truly happy? When nobody's looking at you, then by all means, keep doing what you're doing. But for me, my experience, and that's all I can speak of, I wasn't deeply fulfilled. I didn't have the realest people in my life because I wasn't being the realest version of myself, because I was a hypocrite. I was saying one thing and doing another, and I wasn't living up to my full experience, my full expression as a human being. So I hope that video helps you guys have clarity. Don't go the way of the world. If you think the world is like society is really good right now, then keep doing what society does. For me, I'm the black sheep. I don't like where society is going. And it's not me shaking my finger. And it's not me saying, you got to do this. I'm just sharing my experience and saying, try going that way. Spend some time by yourself. Go into solitude. It doesn't have to be the Bible. My pathway is the Bible. I read a lot of into that. I'm not a Bible thumper. I don't take the Bible and hit other people in the head with it. It's not my way of being. Because younger me, I wouldn't. I resented that when people did that. I was like, oh, great, another Bible thumper. But explore different things. You know, check. There's for a while I was into Buddhism, the Eightfold Path. It's similar ideas. These ideas are very similar. You're going to the process that, you know, that which is temporary, you try to make permanent. And that's where suffering is. Very similar ideas. But ultimately, you have to see for yourself. You have to walk your own path. And in my own experience, again, when I was speaking, if I said this to the younger version of me, I wouldn't even listen. And um and I had to experience more of the pleasure to lead me back to the other side. And I'm grateful that I didn't go swinging to the other side of the fence where just like, you can't do this, you don't do that. Cause I think a lot of people do that when they go down that, you know, they have that guilt and the shame, and then they say everybody should live this way and follow Jesus. And in my view, Jesus, again, he was someone who sat with sinners. He was someone he would sat with sinners, and, you know, he loved people, but he did it. He also spoke truth. He wouldn't say, oh, well, what you're doing is great. No, he'd say, go and sin no more. That's the whole idea. Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. You know, and that's an internal process. That's only something you can navigate because only you can speak on your own experience. So if these words resonate with you, consider it. Consider fasting in different ways in your life. And it doesn't mean, because you have to give the devil its due. I know what that voice is. You know, why would I give this up? Are you kidding me? I love this. That's the mind. And I'll end it on this. This is something that I heard from someone. This is from actually Muji. You can check him out. For a long time, I listened to a lot of the stuff that he said, and I'll probably make a video on this too. That don't follow people. A big piece of advice that my father always said to me was, you know, be your own man. Walk your path. And it's simple advice. We've all heard that some variation in our life, but are you really doing it? And the truth was, I didn't do it for so many years, fearing what other people would think and all that. It's like it's such a lie of the mind. Who gives a shit what other people think? Yeah, and I don't say that in a cold way. I mean that in a real way. Because if my pathway is the highest version of myself, the people who are hating and criticizing, they're really not worth listening to. Because if I'm honest in my heart, you know, I think I'll attract people who are real. The more real I am and authentic with myself, the more I'm going to attract other people. And the people who are not authentic and real won't attract. But yeah, try it out for yourself. Try it out for yourself and see what happens. A lot of good can happen when you, again, go within and go in that. You learn a lot. You learn a lot when you really start giving things up. Those possessions and feelings and all that. Oh, what I wanted to end on is this saying from Muji that he said is, this is the game of the mind. And what the mind will say is, you know, let's say you're on a diet and you're not supposed to eat that chocolate cake, but your mind comes in and says, just have a bite. You've been really good on your diet. Just have a bite. And this can be expressed in all different addictions and all different, again, the feeling good, being of the world. Just have a bite. And then you have that bite. And then the same mind that said, indulge, have a bite, says you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. Now your whole diet's screwed up. Shame, guilt. And that's the voice within. The same voice that will tell you, indulge, feel good. Yeah, you deserve this. You're special. Yeah, you know what? I'ma do me. Yeah, it's all about me. You indulge in that, and then you say you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. And that's how the ego works. The ego works in that sense. And until it's integrated, until you kind of have to deny it, you have to enjoy the world. You have to experience the world, but you also have to see the flaw of just experiencing the world. And that's that idea, because that same voice that says, you're so special, you're so great, you deserve this, you're the best, is the same voice that says, you shouldn't have done that. You're an idiot. You screwed up again. You made the same mistake. You're a hopeless romantic. All these things, all victim. The arrogant, the vainglory, the prideful part of you will bounce you back to the victim part of you. And they're both ego. And you can play that game and bounce back and forth, or you can go to a higher level. Give it up some more. Give up the world some more. Be married or be a monk.